Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is we bring about conversations about psychological, social, and meaningful topics in a variety of areas. We've got over 500 audios available for your listening pleasure. We can certainly do an amazing amount of good with that. We've got over 500 subscribers. Would love to have more. Trying to get to 1,000 so we can give some money to charity and make the world a better place after the crazy year we've all had with the COVID virus. In any event, please feel free to reach out if there's something I can do for you as a coach, and that would be you can do that through Twitter at PO Perception, or here on YouTube. Just go to my website, and which is in the About Me section, and we'll see what we can do there. In any event, we're going to talk about changing habits and things that you need to think about when you're trying to change a habit. So, the first is repetition. You have to get into a routine, you have to get into a flow, you have to make that flow your most meaningful thing. So if you're trying to quit smoking, then do the same thing every day as it relates to that process. In other words, if that's journaling when you're feeling tempted to smoke, if that's using a stress ball when you're tempted to smoke, if that's going and working out when you're tempted, if that's getting around certain people who are support partners and accountability partners, whatever it is that's going to lead you to believe and to achieve from the basis of actually doing something differently, that's what you need to do. Repetition, both in thought and action, is the key to changing something in a lasting way. The next thing is know your triggers. What are the things that set you off as it relates to doing the behavior you want to change? Is it talking with certain people? Then maybe you take a break from talking to them for 30, 60 days. Is it dealing with stress at work? Then maybe you have to start looking for a new job to give yourself hope. Is it that you notice that you're triggered when you go to a certain place, or when you experience a certain thing in life? Then maybe you avoid those circumstances, people, or situations. But you've got to know the things that trigger you so that you can adapt to your life differently and give yourself the biggest chance of handling things. Now, you may be able to go back and face those triggers after 90 days, after 180 days of doing the things you want to do. Um, and that's valuable, but until you know what your triggers are, until you have workarounds for them, until you're real with yourself about them, in other words, how much they've cost you in your life, the ways in which it's negatively impacted you, the ways in which you want to change and have a compelling why for the changes you're making, and not just because someone else told you you should. That's not compelling. You're not going to make the differences you want to make in your own life, and that's super valuable. The next thing to consider is the reality that you've got to get rid of toxic beliefs. How did I wind up here? What do I believe about myself that's ingrained in my psychology? What can I look at from the past and say, hey, you know, I started believing I was fat, and so I started eating less, which led me to an eating disorder. I started believing I was ugly, so I dated down. I started believing that, my neighborhood defined my identity. Whatever those toxic and often unconscious, subconscious beliefs are, they have to change. And so changing isn't let's be positive all the time. Sometimes change is as simple as let's be neutral. Is it possible that things could change? Because if you don't believe in possibility of change, it doesn't matter at any level, none, what you do, what you say, what you promise, how you intend to go forward. If you don't believe that change is possible, then you're gonna be limited with how effective your new approach actually is and can be. Then the final thing in this, or second to final, I think, is set realistic goals and kind of look at why you're doing what you're doing in terms of wanting to change, not necessarily in the nature of I want to change because someone else told me I should, but I want to change because it's going to improve my quality of life. I want to change because I want to live longer. I want to change because I want to have a better understanding of myself. Have a long term plan. Realize that you will backslide with any behavioral modification you make because that's part of human experience. Cellular memory, which is our body going into behaviors we're familiar with on an unconscious, subconscious level, is a real thing. And so, if you're looking to get a better quality of life, if you're looking to achieve something at a new more meaningful level, have a where I want to be in 3 months, where I want to be in 6 months, where I want to be in a year and 5 years. Plan to the behavior and change modification approach. Adapt. If something isn't working, if a weight loss technique, if a way of thinking, a way of talking to yourself, self talk related, if change in how you spend your time, what you're doing isn't working, if an exercise routine doesn't work for you, I'm not saying give up immediately. Give it a fair length of time, somewhere between a week to a month. But if at the end of a predetermined length of time something isn't working for you, adapt. Find different ways to do the same thing. No two people are the same, no two situations are the same, and therefore it's super important to begin to see yourself as capable of changing, but also capable of getting to a place where that change is ultimately. But the more open we are to the realization that we need to be adaptable and flexible, the easier it becomes to own our lives in a way that's manageable. Understand that all solutions come in the time we're ready to receive them and not a moment before. So, understanding that modification of career, modification of relationship, modification of expectations is necessary for successful living. And so, adaptation when changing a habit or behavior is also super, super valuable and necessary. So, hopefully, this is helpful to you. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.